have 6 o'clock right now, so why don't we go ahead and kick off the Halifax Finance Committee meeting. I'll go ahead and call it to order at 6 p.m. on Monday, December 11th. This meeting is being conducted remotely and recorded by Area 58. In attendance from the Halifax Finance Committee is Cheryl Zarella Burke, Michael Bennett, Bill Smith, Frank Johnston, Jim Walters, EJ Bryan, and myself, Todd Dargy. First order of business for tonight is the acceptance of the meeting minutes from the last 2 sessions, I guess, November 13th and the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen on that was held on November 24th. So I know Katie has drafted those and sent those around for everybody's review. Any comments, questions, updates from anyone? Everybody happy with those?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion then to approve the meeting minutes from November 13th as well as the joint session held with the Selectmen on November 24th?
So moved.
Thank you, Michael. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Cheryl. Roll call vote. EJ?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Cheryl?
I can only vote on the 13th. I wasn't there for the 24th.
Okay, we'll make note of that, Cheryl. Thank you, Cheryl. And I am a yes as well for both the 13th and the 24th. Motion carries unanimously. The next update was on the Thorndike Development Impact Analysis, and I see both Lloyd and Craig online as well. So thank you again for joining. We did receive the update. I don't know, Cody, I'm guessing you asked them to join again, I guess, but I don't know if there's anything particular that we want to go through. I saw the update come through. It looked good. As from my perspective, I don't know if there was any questions from anybody on the committee for either Lloyd or Craig, I guess. Or
None from me, Todd.
No,
No.
me either.
None.
No, I had none.
okay, yeah. So I mean, I think the updates were pretty straightforward. So unless there was something specifically that you wanted to relay, I guess Craig or Lloyd, I think should be okay with the impact analysis. I did take your figures and put them into a spreadsheet, and then just ran through a couple scenarios, just largely just in anticipation of maybe some questions or concerns that some folks may raise. One of which would be, kind of what if scenario, right? Like, what if the the units don't sell for your expected price range there, which I think was a minimum of 409,000. So I had just plugged those in as below that as say an average price of say 400,000, and certainly the net impact was certainly still positive. So I think at the end of the day, no matter which way you slice the numbers, it's pretty clear that this initiative is the win for the town. But I don't know if anyone else had a chance to take a look through the figures and had any concerns or questions for Lloyd or Craig at all.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, sure.
Our hope and our goal for this evening was that if the Finance Committee did feel that the updated analysis was acceptable, that the committee could vote in support of the project. The recommendation of Finance Committee at town meeting is, of course, always a critical component. And so that's at least what's on our agenda.
Yeah, exactly. And that's our next agenda item is actually to
Okay.
Review and vote on all of the town articles, which we have not done yet. So certainly this being one of the articles was, our next agenda topic.
Got it.
So you're happy to, more than welcome to stay there, I guess. So that will bring us, I guess, to exactly the review and the vote on the special town meeting articles. I don't know, Cody, did you want to, I guess, take us through each of the articles, I guess, and then we can.
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to share my screen so you have the articles on your screen, or?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, can you all see the warrant Article 1 here?
Yes. Yes.
So Article 1 should look familiar to you because these are the changes, excuse me, to the wage and personnel bylaw that we discussed at the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. So really two parts to this. The first is establishing the new classification plan. So part A just goes through what grades 1 through 12 and which position falls under each corresponding grade. And then part B is the actual ranges for the grades. So you'll see grades 1 through 8 are the hourly ranges, and then 9 through 12 are salary ranges. These are minimum and maximums. And as you may recall, you voted on breaking them up into a 12-step system.
All right.
Any questions on the Article 1? Oh, Cheryl has one.
Go ahead, Cheryl. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Does this fit into what we had figured as far as money-wise?
It is. We'll actually have we should have a little bit remaining, but it's certainly affordable, not only this year, but also in the next year or two when we cost it out.
Okay. Okay.
And Cody, this money was approved last town meeting, correct?
It was. So town meeting appropriated $260,000 for the purposes of funding fiscal 24 collective bargaining agreements and non-union wage increases. So we didn't do any wage increases for non-union employees. So this would be those wage increases, and it would be covered that excuse me, by that 260,000 that was already appropriated. And then you'll see it reflected in the operating budget in fiscal 25.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. All right. Any other questions for? Go ahead, Cheryl.
If we're going to be changing job descriptions, will that take away from the stipends that they get? If they if they go to school after, or you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yes. So not right now, because we can't, the bylaw, you all know kind of how the bylaw is, the personnel bylaw. The personnel bylaw itself actually doesn't allow us to change anything in the bylaw at a special town meeting except for wages and classification. So we can't change any of the other parameters of the personnel bylaw unless we're at the annual town meeting. So my goal is when we go back to the annual town meeting in May, we'll clean up the rest of the bylaw and really get rid of just a lot of kind of those things and make it so, this is your position. This is the range for the position. No more of kind of these additional 1% for this or percent for that, just to clean it up. But we can't do it this town meeting because the bylaw doesn't allow it.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Todd.
Yep. Sure. No problem. Any other questions on Article 1?
Nope.
Hearing none, I guess would somebody like to make a motion to recommend Article 1?
So move.
Second.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Michael. Roll call vote. EJ?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes, on Article 1.
Bill?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes for Article 1.
Michael?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Motion carries unanimously to recommend Article 1.
Article 2 it falls in line with Article 1. So because our town clerk, treasurer, collector, and our highway surveyor are all elected positions, we can't just change their salaries within the bylaw. We have to actually change it through an article at town meeting. Town meeting sets the salaries of elected officials. So that what we did here is we took the methodology that we discussed at the wage and personnel meeting of taking their existing pay, placing them on the scale, the closest step on the new scale, guaranteeing at least a 2% increase. And these are the figures that we come up with. So in order to just be equitable, this would change their salaries to match what's recommended in the wage study.
Makes sense.
Which the treasurer collector and the highway surveyor, they did not see increases at this past town meeting in the annual. The town clerk did see an increase, but it was based on increasing her hours. It wasn't necessarily a cost of living adjustment or merit increase. It was simply just to compensate her for a 3-hour work week.
Any questions from anyone on the committee regarding Article 2?
So Cody, just to refresh my memory, this just brings them level to like the first plateau of the new wage steps.
Not necessarily. So the treasurer collector, it brings them to step 1. The town clerk, this would bring her to, let me see. So basically what I did is I took their existing salaries as of July 1, and then I plugged them into whatever grade that the compensation study they were stated that they were in. I plugged their existing salary into that grade, and then those 12 steps that I gave you, I found the closest step without a decrease in pay, because we're not going to decrease anyone's pay.
Okay.
And then I put them on that step. And then if it was at least a 2% increase, then that's what this shows. If it was under a 2% increase, I went to the next step. Let me see. I'll pull up my let's see. Stop sharing my screen here for a minute. So effectively what we would have is the town clerk, they graded her position at a grade 9. So she would go to a step 3, and that's that 72,389.70, because she's at 70,720 right now. So if you look at grade 9, 70,720, the next closest step plugging her in would be that step 3, which is the 72,389.70. And then
what's the highest percentage jump for out of all of them?
Well, the position with the highest percentage is, let's see. I have it as an office assistant in our Board of Health. It's a 26% increase. One thing I do want to note is the implementation of this. So the where people fall on the scale, that's a policy decision that the Wage and Personnel determines. That's not a town meeting decision. So the town meeting is really just voting on these are where the positions fall into, what grade they fall into, and then these are the ranges for those positions. And then you, as the Wage and Personnel, vote on the actual implementation, which is what we had discussed previously, was take their existing wage, plug them into the scale, guaranteeing a 2% increase, although that I may be coming back to you in the future to discuss that again.
Exactly.
So did the town clerk example kind of make sense, Jim?
Yeah, I think I understand you're trying to match the salary. So if I understand correctly, just so I have it right in my head, you're matching the salary to where they are currently to the new step setup that you put in there, and then you are giving them or looking for an additional 2% on top of that to fit them into the slot you have aligned. Is that correct?
No. So you have the first part correct. So we're plugging them into the existing scale. So, and then so once I plug them in, I look and see what percentage increase that has been.
Uh-huh.
If that has been at least 2%, we're leaving it. That's what they're having. That's what they're being stuck with. If it's not 2%, then I'm bumping them to the next step within the schedule. It'll likely end up being more than 2% at that point. But what I don't want is I don't want people off scale. I want to make sure everyone's on the scale. And then the 2% just seems, in speaking with individual board members, the selectmen, they would like to see just at least a 2% for everybody, considering we didn't do a cost of living adjustment this past July 1st.
Okay.
So the treasurer collector, what's that one at, Cody? What do you have there?
So if you take the treasurer collector position, let me see on my spreadsheet. So treasurer collector was at $74,502. That position is a grade 10. Yeah, that position's a grade 10. So this is a good example. So that's a grade 10. So the next step on that would be actually step 1, which is 75,350. That's not a 2% increase though. So that then got bumped up to step 2, which is that 77,459.80. Yeah, that's what, 77,459.80.
And where are we at with the highway surveyor?
So his position is rather unique. When GovHR evaluated the highway surveyor position, they evaluated it as a whole, in which historically the highway surveyor has taken on the cemetery superintendent as well. So that's a position that they're compensated for, but the cemetery superintendent aspect of it is appointed, right? And then the highway surveyor aspect is elected. So what we did was they graded that position in particular at a grade, let's see. So they graded that at a grade 11. And what I did is I took his existing elected salary plus he gets a $11,681 stipend for the cemetery superintendent. And if you add those two together, the current existing salary is $89,637. So I went to the same thing for this position. I looked at grade 11. I took 89,637. That would have made him a step 4. So let me share the steps so you can all see what I'm doing here. All right, can you all see the steps? It might be a little small, but
yeah.
So 11. He made 8 with the 2, it was a little over 89,000. So he would have gotten plugged into this 90,044. But again, you do that out and it's a less than 2% increase. So he would go to the next step, which is that 92,565.34. But remember, we pay him 11,000, let's see, 11,681 is appointed in the budget already. So if you add 80,884 plus the 11,681 that has already been approved in the operating budget, that's how you get the it would be the grade 11 step 5, which is 92,565.34. So the idea of this really was just to put them on the scale so there's a rhyme or reason of how we pay them. They're elected, so it's, town meeting sets the salary, but historically it was just kind of a salary that they requested that seemed to make sense. There wasn't necessarily rhyme or reason, and then they would ask for the same COLA, cost of living adjustment that all the non-union employees got. but they were missing out on steps per se, right? There was no steps. So at least with this, there is logic of how we're compensating them. This is the position that they're doing. This is what the town's pay philosophy is. This is a scale that we've adopted, and it makes sense to just put them on the scale.
So back to the highway surveyor. So the wage will be 92,565 plus the cemetery wage, or that's all
No.
encompassing?
That's all encompassing. So you'll see in the warrant, the salary for just the highway surveyor, the elected portion is the 80,884 and 34 cents.
Right, and then it's that other 11,000, right, to get to the.
Yep, and then 11,681 is the cemetery superintendent portion of it. That we don't need to vote that, because that was already voted. That's already in the bylaw. That was already voted in the budget at the May town meeting. So that doesn't need to change. So we're just changing the elected portion of it. And then when you look at the position as a whole, it equals the 92.
Grade 11, step 5.
Yeah, so grade 11, step 5. Yeah, so 11, 5, 92, 565, 34.
Joe, did you have a question still?
Sorry, you talking to me?
Yeah, you had your hand up, Cheryl. Do you still have a question?
Did you mention some town assistant was going to get a 26% raise?
There is a position that will get that increase. So, and that's the reason for that is everyone's being bumped up to at least step 1. So they're in the range. So any position that's been significantly underpaid will get it bumped up to at least step 1.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only part that I
don't get that.
You know, that's a pretty substantial jump for one particular person. You know, and I just fear what that perception is going to leave for others around that person.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's us accurately compensating everybody. So those that are getting smaller increases weren't undercompensated as much as the ones that are getting the larger increases. When you do a compensation and classification study, you always have a year like this where some people, see a lot larger increases and some people see smaller increases. It's really a correction year for us. It allows us to get on the
26% jump, Cody. And so
what's that?
I would challenge that you would see a 26% jump.
Well, we also got to keep in mind too that the percentages increases based on the the salary base. So I think in this specific position, the jump is from 8,000 to 10,000. So that's also a contributing factor to the 20%. Because the salary is low dollars.
Yeah. No. My only point would be that I would expect there to be a reaction from some folks that aren't getting that amount of an increase. Regardless of whether or not it was underpaid previously or not. I'm not saying it puts me against it. I'm just saying that kind of word of caution that
could create problems.
Pandora's box that gets opened up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've implemented these in the past in previous communities, and you never do this and everybody's happy. But the benefit to this is we hired an independent consultant who looked at this pretty objectively and said this is what we recommend your wages should be. And we're not looking at this on individual. So I'm not saying Sandy's getting this raise. I'm saying the position is getting this increase. And that's really important to look at it that way. And you're right. There are a couple that are in for larger increases. And I think, the way I put it is the town should be fortunate we got those positions at such a bargain for all of these years. But yeah, I mean, people are never going to be completely happy, like you said, especially if one person's in for a 2% increase and then, some of the others are in for, 20 something, then yeah, but it's really a correction year.
So do you have an average percentage across the board of what this comes out to be, or no?
I do. I would have to get back to you on that figure. I just don't have it in front of me. One thing I do just want to try to, and I'm more than happy to discuss it with the finance committee, but one thing I do just want to differentiate is town meeting does not set the implementation of this. This is, you guys do, right? You do with the Board of Selectmen. You're the ones that are implementing this, as long as it stays within the parameters of the funding that town meeting already approved, right? Because they already approved that funding. You set the parameters of how we implement it. Town meeting is just deciding the ranges, right? They're the ones just approving the actual ranges. So what I don't want to get into a town meeting is, well, how much of an increase is this position in for, or how much of an increase is this person in for? Because that's all implementation, and we can say, well, the range before was this and the range now is this, but I don't want to make it personal for any one person. That's what I want to try to stay away from.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Do all office assistants start at the same step one?
Yeah, they do. Historically, when we hire any staff, we try to bring them in at step one. The only way that we bring them in at a higher step is actually with your approval. That's what we're supposed to go to, before you and the selectmen, to bring them in at a higher step. And we only do that if they have credentials and experience that we feel are valuable, and would make sense to bring them in at a higher step. But we don't have any office assistants. So an office assistant is actually a new title. It's replacing secretaries. You don't hear the term secretary used.
Well, they usually
really
administrative
anymore.
assistants are right.
Yeah, so office assistant is really kind of, it's replacing that secretary. And we only have a couple of those. And then we mostly have administrative assistants. So if you go around to departments, most of the administrative staff are administrative assistants. Office staff, the office assistant is just, we have one in my office. We have one in the Board of Health. And do you know of any others, Sandy?
No.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of others.
Yeah.
So they do basically the more clerical duties, and then the administrative assistants really are, I guess, more like office administrators, if you were to differentiate the two.
Okay.
Okay.
So this was Article 2. Are there any other?
Article 2 is just these 3 positions, correct?
Yes, correct, because there are only 3 elected positions.
Any other questions for Cody on Article number 2? Hearing none, would somebody like to make a motion then to recommend Article 2?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, EJ. Roll call vote. Frank?
Yes, on Article 2.
Bill?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes, Article 2.
EJ?
Yes, on Article 2.
Michael?
Yes.
And I am a yes on Article 2 as well. Motion carries unanimously. Article 3, Cody?
So Article 3 is the amendment to the Silver Lake Regional School District Agreement. The amendment is included in the attachments on the website. We'll have it printed at town meeting. The substantial change, is the change of regionalizing our pre-K. So historically, we've run it regionalized, but our agreement did not match the current practice. So Department of Secondary, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education reviewed our agreement and basically said, look, you need to bring your agreement into compliance with matching your current practice. If you do not bring your agreement into compliance by the end of the calendar year, we'll let you finish out the school year, and then each town would be responsible for administering pre-K, which would come at a much more significant cost to the town of Halifax.
And this here is just pending Halifax vote at this point in time, right? Cody, Kingston, and Clemson have both already voted in favor.
Yes, yes, they have.
All right. Any questions for Cody on Article 3?
No.
Hearing none, would somebody like to make a motion then to recommend Article number 3?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Michael. Roll call vote. EJ,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes on Article 3.
Bill,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes on Article 3.
Michael,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. Motion carries unanimously to recommend Article number 3. Article number 4, Cody.
So Article 4, at the spring town meeting in 2022, the town had voted to appropriate, I think, $1.74 million for the purpose of funding the renovation of the Halifax Museum. As you know, and we'll get to later on in the warrant, there's some, plans have changed. Even if plans didn't change, we started really assessing the feasibility of renovating the museum. It's probably not the best option. So because that article was so specific and it said we had to use it for the renovation of the museum, this ultimately rescinds that article and then reappropriates the remaining portion, which, Sandy, do you know what the remaining portion is of the 1.74?
I think it's, actually, I don't have that figure. I was going to say, yeah, no, I don't.
Okay.
I'm not guessing.
So we'll have the.
We have a little less. We've spent some of it on some plans and things like that, but we still have the majority of it.
Is it north of 1.2 million?
Yes,
Okay.
well north.
'Cause that's the number that we've been using in these documents.
Right,
Right.
right.
We've checked that, Frank. We definitely have. we have
Absolutely.
enough.
I wouldn't have let that one go.
Yeah, okay, well, that would be problematic.
So regardless of the really of how the other articles go, this is something we want to do anyways. We recognize the need for a council on aging in town. We need to do something, and this just gives us greater flexibility to use the funding to construct, design, or project manage the council on aging facility, and not just restricted to the museum location.
Okay, makes sense. Any questions, comments, concerns from
The only
anyone on
question
Article?
the only question I had.
So what happens to the balance that's left over? That just kind of float out there?
No, this says the remaining portion of, so it's whatever is left in the account will go toward. And it really is just loosening up the wording, so it goes towards the Halifax Council on Aging facility. If we decided the museum is the best bet and we went back to use it for that, you can still use it with this change of wording. It doesn't,
Okay.
and it
So
will be the entire amount left.
Okay, so I guess my question, or what I guess I'm looking for clarity on, is 1.7 million is where we were. We are going to earmark 1.2 million to go to this new project. That leaves thereabouts $500,000 just kind of out there. So where is that going to sit in the stabilization fund? Is it going to be appropriated in other departments? So what happens with that 500,000? Now I know we've spent some, and that's fine.
Right.
But
So it stays
we
in
didn't
this
spend
article.
$500,000.
Yeah,
Did we?
it stays in this article.
Uh-huh.
And it can be used for, let's see, construction, design, construction, and project management. So it stays in that article until town meeting votes to move it to something else. Or if the project is complete it could be closed out back to the general fund,
Okay.
and it would be closed out with free cash.
Okay.
It would not go to anything else unless town meeting voted it.
Okay. So, but we're rescinding the entire article.
We're rescinding
I
we're rescinding the previous article.
Right?
Yeah, we're rescinding the previous article from 2022, May of 22, and then reappropriating that money for this purpose.
Into this article.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so anything, to Sandy's point, Jim, with this, town meeting has now set a use for the funding. We can only use it for that use. Again, I don't want to speculate on the exact amount. We've probably used a couple $100,000. So if we have a couple $100,000 remaining after we've allocated the 1.2 million, some of that may be used to, if we needed to, get new furniture for the Council on Aging as part of the construction of it. If there were moving costs, right, as part of the construction, moving from the existing building to this building. And then anything, we'd probably leave it open for a year after the council new building had been built and moved into. If things come up, then we could, use it for construction. And then we'd likely close it out and it would go back to the general fund.
And I guess the money spent there, Cody, out of this account, was that for like the design plan, I guess, there? Or like what were the funds used for?
We did have some money. I'd have to look exactly, Todd, but I think we did spend some money on the architectural plans.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Todd, I got a question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bill, sorry.
Museum.
Does
Correct.
the one,
Correct. Sandy?
Yeah, it was the original design plan. I think Frank, the architect,
Right.
designed there. Yeah.
Right.
It ended up being the 3.4 million or whatever it was.
Upside down now.
Right.
Go ahead, Bill. Sorry.
does the 1.2 cover the OPM too? Was that additional cost?
That's an additional, well, that the 1.2 is our contribution towards the total project cost. I anticipate we'll have to use part of this here toward the OPM. That's not included in the 1.2.
Okay, that's what I figured. Yeah.
It does say project management, so it can be used because the LPM is the project manager. So as far as the furniture, I don't know that it would allow us to use that, but we could always change that at town meeting if there's enough money left over to be able to
construct a new building. You need to furnish it.
Yeah, but that's not really construction, is it?
I don't know. I did it
All
in two other towns.
We'll talk about it.
in other towns. Construction. You have to furnish a building when you build it.
Mm,
Yes and no.
You do.
I think construction's a pretty general, pretty general wording.
you might want to add in the motion, including furnishing and moving costs.
I'll check with council and see if it's necessary. I don't want to lay out every single, if we get too specific, then it's going to be if we need to use it for something else construction related and it's not specifically laid out. I don't want it to be, well, you laid out moving and you laid out furnishing, but you didn't state in there electrical, right? Or plumbing, to how specific.
Well, electrical is definitely part of the construction, and so is plumbing. So, I don't
You would
know.
hope
That's
so,
my
yeah.
my point.
You have to be prepared. There's always stuff that pops up.
Hmm.
There's
There is.
always something gonna pop, so just gotta be ready for it.
I'm sure we could put some kind of catch-all phrase in there.
All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns on article number 4?
So at the special meeting, Cody and Sandy will have an exact number of that 1.74. Or we just
Sure.
going with the 1.74 for the move?
No, we'll have the exact number. We'll get you
Yep.
the exact number before the meeting. Probably tomorrow. I'll get you the number and I'll email it out.
Yeah, because I see that coming up at the,
Yeah, agreed.
yeah, just need to be prepared for that number.
Absolutely. I'll have that.
Thank you, Sandy.
All right. Anything else from anyone on article 4? Hearing none, would somebody like to make a motion then to recommend Article 4?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Michael. Thank you, Bill. Roll call vote, EJ,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes on Article 4.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes on Article 4.
Bill,
yes,
and Michael.
Yes.
I am a yes on Article 4 as well. Motion carries unanimously. Article 5, Cody?
So Article 5 is the articles regarding the Thorndike development, the proposed development. So really there's 4 different aspects to Article 5. So the first one is creating that senior housing overlay district. So we're not changing zoning, we're just adding the overlay district into our zoning bylaw. And so it specifies, several different criteria that you have to have at least 1.5 acres. It specifies what senior housing is. It goes into the maximum density of 20 units per acre, maximum height, maximum setbacks. So it specifies everything of the actual overlay district. That's part 1. Part 2 is amending the zoning map to change the parcel from residential to commercial and business, and adding the overlay to the parcels. And then it goes through here. It identifies kind of the parameters of the parcel. Part 3 amends the zoning map to add the senior housing overlay district to the other parcel, right? So that's the 266 Monpont Street. So part 2 is really applicable to 265 Monpont Street. And then 266 is that part 3. That does the zoning for 266 doesn't need to be changed because it's already business commercial. So that the only thing that needs to occur there is for the overlay to be applied to the actual parcel. And then part 4 is part of the legislature. I think it was in 2020, they had put forth, it's called eligible locations. So if a proposed development requires a zoning change and it'll create housing kind of that's near a hub or near businesses, then zoning changes typically need a 2/3 majority. In this case, if it applies to the eligible locations as defined by the state law, then you only need a simple majority. We did submit for a preliminary decision from the state, and they agree that it is an eligible location. So this is basically just saying that town meeting agrees with what the state has put forward, that it is indeed an eligible location, and these zoning changes do only require a simple majority as opposed to a 2/3 majority for other zoning changes.
Thank you, Cody.
So at town meeting, Thorndike will be there. We anticipate the moderator will call on them to give a presentation because we do understand that there's a lot to this. But if there's any kind of questions at this point, I mean, it looks like Lloyd's still on, but I have a pretty good grasp of this, and I can answer as much as possible.
Yeah, thanks, Cody. Any questions for Cody or Lloyd, for that matter, from anyone?
So this is a simple majority vote at town meeting.
Correct.
And just to be clear, Cody, the approval of this approves the project to move forward, correct?
It would still have to go through the site plan review process through the planning board. But it would just allow it it would allow the zoning for it in town and allow them to apply for just a site plan review through our planning board. So it doesn't give them the total green light to go, just like any other project. They'd still have to go through the site plan review through the planning board. That process isn't really that process is meant to work with developers to identify different basically site plans, right? Go through the site plan. Maybe there's some different landscape things that need to be changed, traffic that will be looked at, placement of, poles and engineering plans will be reviewed. So it's really an opportunity to work with the developer, but that would be the only process they'd have to go through as far as the planning board. And then they'd still have to apply for building permits and any other permitting that's required.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
I noticed that nowhere on there, it doesn't go in front of the zoning board. There's nothing. I see
No.
that the planning board recommended nothing from zoning.
No, the state law is that zoning changes have to go before the planning board, and the planning board has to have a public hearing, which they did, and then they'll make a recommendation. So they did do that. The only time projects go before the zoning board of appeals is if it's laid out in our bylaw that they're a special permit granting authority, or if somebody were to request an appeal, a decision of the building commissioner. So if the building commissioner were to deny a permit under our zoning, then that would go to the zoning board of appeals. If somebody were looking for a use variance, that would go before the zoning board of appeals. But this wouldn't necessarily go before the zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I understand this. I've been to several of these meetings, and this is the overlay district is specific to this project and no other project, correct?
Right. So part one really creates that overlay district. That just puts it in our bylaw, zoning bylaw creates it. And then what we do in parts 2 and 3 effectively is apply it to these two parcels. So if town meeting votes this through, it will have only been applied to 265 on Ponset Street and 266 on Ponset Street. Those are the parcels that would have the ability to permit a project under this overlay district. Somebody could come back in the future to permit to apply it to a parcel somewhere else in town that is under the business commercial district. But again, that would require a town meeting to review it again, and town meeting would have to vote on whether or not to apply it to any additional parcels. So with this, it would just be those two parcels.
Okay. Makes sense.
All right, any other questions on Article 5? Hearing none, then would somebody like to make a motion to recommend Article 5?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Cheryl. Roll call vote. EJ?
Todd, can I just make a quick comment before I vote?
Absolutely.
So, first off, I appreciate the intent behind this project. I think that the seniors are such an important part of not only our community, but every community. So I think it's great that we are looking out for them. My fear around this project is how we got where we are and how quickly we got where we are. And, I watched my mother build a local seniors center for not too far from us over the course of the last 10 years. And the positive impact that's had on the community has been immeasurable. And I would love to bring that to Halifax as well. But I can't in good conscience say yes to this vote, knowing that it's happened as quickly as it has. And it seems as if there's just a lot of uncertainty and unknown around how successful it's going to be. So I'm hoping it's a town meeting. My perspective on this can be changed. But for right now, I'm going to be a no on this one.
All right, understood. Thank you, EJ. Frank?
Yes on Article 5.
Bill?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes, Article 5.
Michael?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Motion carries 6-1. All right, next article, Cody, Article 6.
So Article 6 is related to Article 5. As you know, we've engaged with Thorndike Development in a master development agreement. Basically lays out if we were to move forward and town meeting approves the zoning changes and the project moves forward, there are certain obligations that we have, and then there's certain obligations that they would have in contribution to the town. So this is really an agreement that lays that out. that they would contribute the funding toward the Council on Aging, that they would extend the sidewalks, the pickleball courts. And then there's also just, much of it is the legalese language reviewed by council to protect both parties, signs and successor clause and so on and so forth. So this would give the Board of Selectmen the approval and myself the approval to execute the final version of the Master Development Agreement. So we've attached the agreement in substantial form. We don't anticipate that changing much, nothing, of that has any substantial value of changing. And we would ask that town meeting vote to approve it and authorize us to formally execute it.
Thank you, Cody. Any questions, comments, concerns? Anyone on Article 6?
So Article 5 is the Master Development Agreement. When we were, I think, Cody, a couple of weeks ago, when we were meeting separately on the Zoning Bylaw Review Committee, we were talking about the pickleball court piece and the quantity of towns going through litigation regarding noise. And I think at that time it was stated that there were other options we were going to look at. My concern here is that the pickleball court is specifically left in the Master Development Agreement. And if we vote it and pass it, then it is thereby basically been codified that that's what we're going to do. So has there been any further research or suggestions or ideas around that, or are we still at the pickleball court?
Yeah, I did speak with Darlene Regan, our Council on Aging director, to see if she could gauge, some interest of the seniors on this. There did still seem to be quite a bit of interest. Lloyd and I did discuss it briefly. The thought was, any sort of, I guess, nuisance to a neighborhood would be those buildings, particularly really the one just across the street, the 30 unit building there, because the 72 out back is far enough away. It'll be set back enough. So the thought was to continue with it if we needed to change it as we got closer to, because we do still have to design the project. If this moves forward, what we'll do is step one would be to hire an OPM, Owner's Project Manager. Then we'd go through and have to design it. Again, Lloyd and Thorndike Development, I believe, anticipate submitting a proposal to be the one to design it because they've already designed similar buildings. But that is something that we could also work out within the design. And I think this article here, Jim, with the Master Development Agreement leaves us some flexibility enough where we could change it. I think. I don't think we would look to take it away completely because town meeting would be approving it in substantial form. But if we were to maybe make it a tennis court or some other sort of outdoor recreation area, I believe that we would have the ability to do that within the existing agreement.
Cody, I believe that one of the meetings, I don't remember which one, we discussed, might have been a selectman meeting. We discussed putting restrictive hours on the pickleball court to minimize noise impact to the community at that point as a way of dealing with that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was going to ask that as well. I guess isn't the intent of the courts, I guess, to be used during daytime hours, I guess, or were we planning to install like lights or anything of that nature? Or
no, again,
okay.
Off the top of my head, that wasn't the initial plan. Again, I think once we get into design, we would know the exact parameters, but we would certainly have restrictive hours on it, and would look to adjust as needed if it became a nuisance too early in the morning or in the evening. Then we could look to be more restrictive on those hours.
If I may just interject, the providing acoustic screening, I would think would be a legitimate item in the site plan review process. So a lot of the pickleball courts that have been built were built in locations which made acoustic screening very difficult. We have quite a bit of room around this, and the ability through an earthen berm or fencing or whatever the case may be, to investigate that is certainly something that I would think would be on the table as part of a site plan review process.
Could the court material, Lloyd, can that be a dampening using a different type of court material, or how does that work?
You know, we have not built pickleball courts before, so we'll learn together.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
And Jim, this came up because there were some local communities, I guess, that have faced complaints regarding the noise.
There's been litigation and complaints to HOAs, and HOAs have gone back to the builders to try to remediate. That didn't happen, so some of them have ended up in civil court.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah.
there's a big all across the country. It's a whole thing going on about the noise associated with pickleball courts.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, there's ways to deal with it, and one of them is restrictive hours. Because a lot of these courts, people are playing 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night on them, you know, and 6 a.m. in the morning and things like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
my prediction is that someone will very soon come out with a ball that doesn't make as much noise. This is an opportunity for some entrepreneur to solve this problem.
Yeah.
Any possibility we could change the word to just recreational courts instead of approving and voting on pickleball courts?
It would have to be a town meeting amendment at this point because the selectmen have placed it in the warrant. The warrant's been finalized. So it would have to be a amendment on the floor of town meeting.
I think there's workaround for it, so.
I'll just offer one other item here is I'm sure that we will include in our purchase and sale agreements with all of the condominium owners a release with respect to the adjacent pickleball courts. So a lot of these issues that have come up, and I agree with you, Jim, I'm familiar with them, have come up where there were existing residents and the pickleball courts were added subsequently. This is the reverse situation. So someone sees, and we're going to build the pickleball courts right out of the box. So, you know, someone doesn't want to be next to a pickleball court, they shouldn't buy a home there. Now we know people do things like that still, but we can certainly bake that into the contract. We've done things like that before on other issues that needed to be highlighted.
Mm-hmm.
So are the pickleball courts going with the condominiums or at the senior center?
Well, they're going with the senior, they'll be town courts, but since
Built, so are they being built at the time of the senior center or the housing?
they're not connected to the senior center funding because we're paying for them.
No,
we're gifting, we plan on building them right away.
Okay.
I don't think the pickleboards is gonna outweigh the noise and the traffic of the cars going by. So
I had the same thought.
yeah, you trucks going by, it's not gonna make that much noise.
Fire engines, police cars. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just
I agree. It's a noisy intersection to begin with.
yeah.
Well, it's not at the intersection. It's beyond the intersection. It's behind the town.
Not too far down, but yeah, not too far down. I think it'll be, it's noisy enough in that area. I've been in that area. It's noisy enough. But I don't think it's going to be a huge issue.
No.
I mean, I have no doubt somebody will complain, but I just don't think it's going to be a huge issue.
All right. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns on Article 6? No? Hearing none, would somebody then like to make a motion to recommend Article 6?
So move.
Second.
Thank you, Cheryl. Roll call vote, EJ?
So, Todd, just to go back to Article 5, I want to amend my vote there to a yes, just for the zoning for this project, for the senior center in the housing. But in terms of entering a contract with Thorndike for Article 6, it's a no for that, for the same reasons that I mentioned earlier.
Can I just interject just for 1 second?
Sure.
I totally get what you're saying, EJ. One thing to note is if we approve 5 and then don't approve 6, nothing holds Thorndike into doing anything to assist us with a council on aging. So then they would be able to move forward, build the project, and would have no obligation to contribute anything towards the town with the council on aging, pickleball courts, anything above and beyond. So just want to make that known, that this is the only thing that holds them into contributing.
Right. So Article 5 puts the zoning in place, right, to actually construct the senior center and the house.
Article 5 allows them just to construct the condominiums.
Apartments.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can build this. We would have to go through the permitting process of the senior center, but we would be able to build the senior center. But the Article 5 would create the overlay district and the zoning for them to build the project. So if Article 5 passes, they can move forward with the project. Article 6 is that basically both of our obligations, their obligation to contribute various things to the town. So hypothetically, if Article 5 passed but Article 6 didn't, they could move forward and not have to contribute anything to the town as far as a senior center or anything like that.
Yeah. So I remain a no on 5 and I'm a no on 6, Todd.
Okay. Noted. Thank you, EJ. Frank?
Yes on Article 6.
Bill?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes on Article 6.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And I am a yes on Article 6 as well. Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you, gentlemen. I have a 7 o'clock commitment, so I'm going to bow out there unless there's anything for me.
No, I think that's it, Lloyd. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your time.
We'll see you Thursday night.
Yep, see you there.
Thanks, Lloyd.
All right, Cody, Article 7.
Yep. So Article 7 is connected to basically Articles 5 and 6, or predominantly 6. So part of the master development agreement is that they will gift the land where the council on aging would sit and the pickleball courts, or not gift, they would sell to the town for $10. The land here that we're referencing, it's about 2.03 acres at the front of their 265 Monpont Street. It's identified in the attachments as Exhibit B in the development agreement. Anytime that we purchase property, we need a town meeting approval. So even though it's just $10, we still need town meeting's approval to purchase that property.
Makes sense. Any questions, comments, concerns on Article 7? Hearing none, then would somebody like to make a motion to recommend Article 7?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Cheryl. Roll call vote. EJ?
No.
Frank?
Yes on Article 7.
Bill?
Yes.
Jim?
Article 7, yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Motion carries 6-1. All right, and that's it, right, Cody?
It is.
All right, great. Thank you for taking us through those. So then just moving forward on the agenda was the Finance Committee meeting schedule for 2024. So this kind of came about through Cody had, I guess, worked with the Board of Selectmen on this, and they made a recommendation that all the boards and committees draft a meeting schedule be published on the town's page for 2024. So Katie has gone through and drafted a schedule that was sent around, and Everybody had a chance to take a look at that schedule.
Can you share that schedule, Todd?
I never saw it.
Yeah, because I went looking for it and I couldn't locate it either.
Yeah, so let me see if I can share my screen here. I'll send it back. Well, Katie, if you don't mind just recirculating it along, but I'll share my screen here. Can everybody see my screen?
There we go.
Yes.
11/28 is when it went out.
Sorry,
Okay.
what was that, Jim?
I said the email from Katie went out on the 28th of November.
Okay, yeah, and so Katie can recirculate it just so you guys have it at the top of your mailbox. But this was the schedule here, so she just highlighted in yellow where there was notable changes. So typically we meet the first and third Monday of each month, as you know. There are a few holidays following on Mondays in January, so so that's been noted, and where we moved to Tuesdays on those Monday holidays as well. So the initial plan here is, and I wanted, I guess, Cody and Sandy, your thoughts here as well as far as the frequency is concerned. But we thought, conducting 2 meetings in January and then in February, starting the more frequent sessions to review, to really get into the budgets. And so meeting on a weekly basis, starting essentially February 5th onward, all the way through into May, towards the town meeting, and then going back to kind of twice a month cadence thereon after. So
That makes sense.
yeah, okay.
The only thing I would add is I don't know. Do you want to keep the twice a month meetings in July, August? If I recall this last year, I don't even know if you may not have even met in August or July.
Yeah, it gets a little light in the summer, and I think it's good for us to be able to take some time off, I guess, especially as we go through the crunch early in the year. But I think it's good to have it on the calendar. Worst case, we just meet for like a quick 5-10 minute meeting, or we could just take the meeting down as well. But I think it's good just to have that cadence out there in case something pops up that we may need to conduct a meeting on.
We actually had quite a few meetings because of the money.
The
movement.
transfers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it sounds like this year we're not going to have that. Is that correct, Cody?
We'll see. I hope not.
At least not with Sandy, I guess, right?
Oh, you will. I might not be here, but you will.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
I would definitely keep the 2 meetings in July.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go to one in August, but you guys always have plans to set policies and do other research, so it doesn't hurt to keep these on.
Yeah,
You guys
that was my thought.
That
Yeah.
policy, you need a stabilization, you set goals for what your stabilization should be. So it doesn't hurt to keep those meetings on. Those would be your light months and months where you can do some of your back work.
Yeah.
I just have 2 other comments on the
Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
First one being March 4th. That's my birthday, so I'm probably going to.
We'll allow you to skip that one, Frank.
Yeah, we'll take that one off.
Either that or we'll,
You can take that one off. All the rest of you have to work.
And then the second point is on Monday, the 22nd of January, got a typo there on 4th week.
Oh, yeah, we can that. All right, any other questions or thoughts, I guess, on the calendar? Anything glaring that stands out that?
No, I think it makes sense.
Okay. And then Cody, I just had a couple questions, I guess, for you as far as so the idea is to then publish this on the town page, right? Which I think Katie has access to do. Should we footnote this though at the bottom to say tentative scheduled to change, I guess? And then, in addition to that, I guess, if and when there is a change, is the expectation that this calendar constantly be revised, I guess, to update the most up-to-date schedule?
No, I mean, you can put something along the lines of, all meeting agendas still will be posted on the calendar page of the website or something like that.
Yeah, I think,
It's
yeah,
really
we should
just to
footnote something.
just to give people an idea.
Yeah.
Because even if when you say, okay, the first and third, Monday or whatever it is, there's always holidays, things come up, and I'm always hearing from the community, well, when does this board committee meet? Or I even do it myself, oh geez, when does our ZBA meet? It's usually the, second Monday of the month, but last month it was on Wednesday, or the month before that it was a different day. So, and things will change, but it's just good to have a schedule.
Okay.
Is there
All
any,
right. Go ahead, Bill. Sorry.
is there any set date for town meeting in May, or is
May 6th. Is it
May
the
6th?
There is no, it's let's
The
see.
13th.
Yeah, it should be like the 13th or something, right?
So yeah. Calendar.
Town meeting's always the second Monday of May.
Monday,
The
yep, so-
13th.
Yeah.
The 13th.
Yeah. So with that being said, we'll have a meeting on the 13th, just, largely to open our meeting and move it to the town meeting. So, but
That reminds me, you guys, are you going to have a meeting before the town meeting?
we are, yeah, I
On
wanted to
Thursday.
discuss that.
6 o'clock.
All
yeah.
right, so
O'clock.
make sure, Katie, you will need to post that.
Yeah, I talked to her today about that, Sandy. So,
All right,
we'll finalize that at the end here.
all right.
Do we need to add the town meeting to the schedule, Todd?
No, I don't think so, because that's just really a formality just because of the town meeting. So,
Okay.
we do it just open and then move to there so we can, make our recommendations and all that kind of good stuff. And this will certainly change. That's why I was mentioning, like, we'll add a footnote to the bottom, just saying that this, is a tentative schedule that's subject to change. And so somebody doesn't try to hold us, specifics here, because there will be, we may need to hold some ad hoc meetings to approve, transfers or things of that nature, like we've done in the past. So, so it's kind of hard to like set all of the meetings in advance, but I think this will give us a good idea and hopefully too be valuable in folks planning, like, say, vacations or whatever. Not to say certainly can't take a vacation, but just helps just for overall planning, I think. So all right. So we'll go ahead and we'll make those updates to the typo there and the footnotes, and we'll publish that out on the town page.
Todd, real quick.
Yep.
On the schedule, I just highlighted and put in second week, fourth week, just because of the holiday. I was going to remove all of that anyways. So
Oh,
should I
okay.
just take that out?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can go ahead and remove it. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, and then should I add at 6 o'clock for each of them, or it's just known?
I think if you posted something at the top, maybe that said, finance committee meetings typically, usually take place at 6 p.m. And then you could put at the bottom somewhere, all final meeting information will be posted on the agenda on the town's calendar or something, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe add the time in here, I guess, 6 p.m. virtual meetings,
Okay.
That's it, yeah. Okay. All right, great. Very good. Thank you, Katie, for pulling that together. Let's see, let me just pull up the agenda here again. So next on the agenda with the liaison updates, I don't know, Jim or I think Frank, you were on the zoning bylaw review as well, right? Anything there, I guess, to share or anything? Or?
We went through articles, I believe it was 5 of the signage in Halifax and changes made to the signs and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And then the next meeting or two, I think we're going to get in a little bit deeper into the MBTA R3 overlays on that as well, how that lays out in town. That's pretty much about it.
And then, Jim, I saw you were appointed to like the IT advisory group there, I guess. Like, what is that? Can you just give us an update on what that entails, I guess? Or?
So I will be the first to admit that I have no idea what it entails. So, I mean, I've had a couple of chats with Caesar probably before he put me in for the appointment. him and I haven't really had any substantive conversations subsequent to that. I think I'm just looking for like a meeting that he would have or some type of just a quick kind of get together with his committee just to talk about some things. We talked about some things with the town on, some security features, some security advances of what's out there versus what we currently have. Things like being able to, simple things like being able to do some self-service on password resets and things of that nature. So just trying to make it easier to work with the systems that we have. There's some of the systems that we have probably need to be modernized in some facet or another at this point. So nothing really substantive right now.
Just a little FYI on that committee, it hasn't met in 3 years.
Are you part of that committee, Mike?
I vouch for that.
Yeah, I'm on that one as well.
Are you? See?
Hasn't met in 3 years. He, right after it formed, there was a meeting, and we haven't met since.
There's a meeting, and the schedule is every 3 years.
Apparently.
That's about it.
Apparently, that seems to be it. Yeah.
I'll be reaching out. We'll likely have one sometime in January.
Your calendar scheduled dates will be posted on the town page.
All right, and then Cody, I guess on the capital plans, I guess I know we were aggregating some of those requests, I guess, right, for the 5-year capital requests and stuff. Any update there to share at all, or?
I'm still putting it together. Believe it or not, I still have a couple of departments that have not submitted capital plans. At this point, we're going to likely move forward. I'll probably look to schedule a capital planning committee meeting beginning of January, and I'll disseminate that information to committee beforehand. And we need to actually, I think we're down a member or two of the capital planning committee. Is that right, Sandy?
I think so. I think we have one citizen at large. I think we're supposed to have 2.
Yeah,
maybe 3. I'm not sure. So
I'll take a look at that. If we need to advertise for those, we'll get those advertised, and then, like I said, hopefully beginning in January, get those out. And then I'll share actually with the whole finance committee once I've put together the townwide capital plan, so you can get an idea of the first draft of what it looks like, what people are requesting. We don't have an idea of what our free cash is going to be. We're still getting caught up in some things in the finance department. So I've been dragging my feet a little bit because I don't want to bring things forward to capital because one of the first questions capital is going to say is, well, what can we afford? And at this point, I'm not sure because we don't have our free cash number. So
no, exactly. Yeah. Okay. All right. And I guess it's a little further out too, I guess, but as far as like planning for those budget sessions, right, you'll kick those off with the scheduling with Sandy and the liaison, I guess. Do you have the copy of our liaison list, I guess? Or do you need me to reshare that with you? Or?
I believe I have it. No, I believe
okay.
That was when I wrote it all down when you guys went through it. So I should be good. And yeah, once we, as soon as we get the budgets in, they're due next week, I believe. And I'll start to schedule those meetings.
Yeah. Okay.
We've gotten a few budgets in and I have put them on the OneDrive.
Oh, did you?
So
okay.
if anyone's having trouble with the OneDrive, let me know.
Yeah, I guess if everybody could just take a look when you get a chance, just to make sure you can access would be good, so we can solve those problems, sooner than later, I guess, if there are any. Particularly the newer joiners like EJ and Bill, I guess, you're probably more prone to have an issue than us, certainly. So
yeah, I don't have access to the OneDrive. I don't think I have access.
I'll make sure that you're on the share. I'm pretty sure you are, but I don't know. I don't know how to give you access. You'll have to talk to Caesar on that one.
I'll take care of it, Bill. Don't worry about it.
And EJ, have you tried yet or to get into there?
Yeah.
And you're all set? Yeah. Okay, great. Okay. All right, great. All right, so then I guess moving on then on the agenda was next item was the correspondence, and as may arise. So I didn't see anything come across in regards to correspondence. So I think we should be good there unless anyone's seen anything. Or...
Todd, the only thing I have, we didn't take a vote on the new schedule.
Do we need to formally vote that, Cody, or?
I don't know if you necessarily need to formally vote it. It doesn't hurt to vote it as long as you're all in agreement.
Okay, that's what the agenda said, so I just wasn't sure if we had to.
Oh, because you said review and acceptance of the meeting schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it requires a formal vote. I mean, I guess we could take one. I guess anyone have any objections to the meeting calendar schedule?
No.
Would somebody like them to make a motion to approve the 2024 meeting schedule?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Michael. Thank you, Bill. Roll call vote, Frank?
Yes, on the 2024 meeting schedule.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes, on the schedule.
EJ?
Yes, on the schedule.
Michael?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And myself is a yes as well. Motion carries to approve the 2024 meeting schedule. Thank you, Katie, for bringing that up. All right, so then next item was the public participation, which I don't see anyone on except for Chief. Chief, I don't know if you, not to put you on the spot, but do you have anything you want to cover tonight or?
No, I'm all set.
No,
Thank
okay.
you.
All right, sure. All right, and then this next meeting planning. So obviously we want to, as we discussed, we want to, open up a finance committee meeting on this Thursday at 6 p.m. At the Halifax Elementary School, just for sake of opening the finance committee and then moving it to the town meeting. We won't have any agenda items to go through other than potentially the minutes, but obviously there won't be enough time for Katie to draft those and circulate those. So we'll really just open the meeting as a formality, I guess. But maybe with that being said, maybe we open the meeting at 6:15, I guess. Does that work? The town meeting's at 6:30, so I think the 15 minutes ahead of the meeting should suffice. Anybody have any challenges with being on site on Thursday? We'll look to utilize the teacher break room as we have in the past there. Everybody can just meet there by, I'll be there at 6, but if everybody can just be there by like say 6:15 so we can in the meeting, I think that would be great.
Is that the same room as last spring?
It is, yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll 6:15 sound good to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so let's plan for that. And then I guess subsequent to that, I guess, we would be next due to meet again on Monday, the 18th, a week from now. I don't think there'll be anything to cover. And obviously with the holidays coming up, my proposal, I guess, would be then just to, roll into the 2024 meeting schedule with January 8th being the next formal meeting, if you will. That sound good to anybody?
So instead
Just to be clear, we're going to meet on Thursday, and then we will not meet as a body again until the 8th of January. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I'm proposing. Yeah.
Okay.
But we don't need to discuss anything associated post town meeting.
Nothing that would be urgent. I mean, something may come up that we want to discuss, but I think we can probably do that on the 8th of January. There shouldn't be anything that requires an urgent vote subsequent to the town meeting, right? So, I mean, if there was for some crazy reason, we could always, decide that change course and decide to meet on the 18th. But I think at this point in time, I don't see any agenda topics developing between now and then. So I would just move that we, with the holidays and such, take a brief break and regroup on January 8th and really start diving into it come February with the budgets and everything.
There may be a wage and personnel, but depending on how town meeting goes, we may need to meet as wage and personnel. But I'll send that out if need be, and we can do it via Zoom. But
As a joint meeting with the selectmen.
Yeah, I'll communicate that if that needs to occur.
That would just be on the heels of maybe concerns raised at the town meeting, you're thinking, or I guess, or what would be the?
Well, to discuss implementation, and just make sure everyone's on the same page as far as implementation.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah, we'll be on the lookout for that, I guess, if there's something we need to do there, but it sounds like we can do that remotely if something pops up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, all right. Well, that brings us to the end of the agenda. So, would somebody then like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Cheryl. Roll call vote. Frank,
Yes, to adjourn.
Bill,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes, for adjournment.
EJ,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. Motion carries unanimously. Meeting is adjourned at 7:25 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Hope you all have a great night, and we'll see you on Thursday.
See you Thursday.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Take care.
All right, bye.